Hello, and welcome to From the EBPL Archives, Encore presentations from the East Brunswick Public Library. I am your host, Melissa Hosick. This event was presented as part of our Just for the Health of It initiative. Just for the Health of It is a proprietary health literacy program developed by the East Brunswick Public Library to promote health literacy in Middlesex County. To learn more, visit justforthehealthofit.org. Now, enjoy the program.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for today's Lunch and Learn with the Doctor, and for better exercise, best you. My name is Kathy Chern, and I'm a consumer health librarian at East Brunswick Public Library. Today's program is brought to you by St. Peter's University Hospital and the library's Just for the Health of It initiative to promote community health and wellness. Our speaker today is Dr. Bonnie Saunders, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Manager of Physical Rehabilitation Services at St. Peter's University Hospital. Please be aware that this talk is being recorded. Please keep your microphones muted and your webcams off. The recording will be available at ebpl.org/YouTube. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. Our speaker will answer questions at the end of the talk. The speaker will not be able to offer medical advice to attendees during this program. And without further ado, I'll turn things over to Dr. Saunders.
Thank you so much. It's actually so nice to see that there are so many people, attending this. Makes me a little nervous, but excited at the same time. Should I go ahead and share my screen right now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so that should be up. Hopefully you can see my screen. I did want to share with you, this is the first time I'm doing a talk of this kind of venue, and it's a little different for all of us, I'm sure. We're slowly getting used to this Zoom thing, which has been highly beneficial, but so I will try to do my best to communicate clearly. I want this to be a very practical conversation here, talk. I sat in on talks before where, I get off of it, I'm thinking, well, that was a waste of my time. And I just have not wanted to be that person. So my goal is to make this practical and helpful. And if you can walk away from this with one tip, one or two tips, then I will feel that that's been successful. So to get started with, I wanted to share a little bit the perspective for this talk. This talk is really not for those that are already highly engaged in an exercise program and they kind of have something that fits for them and works for them and are really comfortable with that. Those people probably would not, listen to a Zoom talk like this. More what I see this talk for is for I would say more the common folk, those that you would like to be exercising, know we need to exercise, maybe not quite sure how to start, or when I start, I have trouble keeping going, just trying to find something that works. And so that's really what I see this talk can be the most beneficial for. So, again, I hope that you all will be able to find, a few things from this that can be beneficial to you. One small disclaimer, I will be mentioning a few products in here. I don't have any vested interest in anything, and these are really just all suggestions. So without further delay, I'll get into the objectives. What I'd like to accomplish in this little talk is I'd like to discuss the reasons or the goals of why we exercise, review the various types of exercise and how to choose the best exercise for our goals, and then consider the various venues of exercise, discuss briefly barriers to our plans, and maybe strategize a little bit about how we can reduce these barriers. And the last thing is, it's always important, anything you want to try to build into your life, you have to have something of a goal set up. So if some of you may have already be familiar with the SMART goals, but if not, I can introduce that here to you today as well. So wanted to start off with this little cartoon. You can read it on your screen, and this is so true. How can we improve our health? There are so many things that our health can be improved them by exercise. We'll talk a few of these here today. But everything I talk about today will not be an exhaustive list of any of it. This is just like a sampling, something to whet people's exercise and maybe get your thoughts going a little bit. But truly, exercise is one of the key pillars of our health. It keeps all of our body systems going, it keeps our mind alert, it keeps our mood elevated. So there's a lot of reasons. So, what can we do to improve our health? Exercise. It's very, very, very important. Okay, so I wanted to get this started. I wanted to talk a little bit about the common cycle of exercise. And when I say call it a common cycle, we all know those people, I've got a few in my life, who have made exercise just a part of their daily life. They've done it for years and years, and it's as common and natural to them as eating. For most of us, though, I would argue that we've had this like love-hate relationship with exercise. We know we want to do it. We want to start it. We don't always finish it. It's that on and off cycle. And it's very tough to kind of at times get something going. And I'm going to share a lot of the things that I've gleaned professionally and even personally in this talk about maybe some of these ways we can combat that off and on cycle of exercise, and maybe really looking to build it into a little bit more a consistent part of our lives. I will tell you, my story is when I was younger, I used to exercise for all different kind of reasons, wanting to look good or whatever. And things have changed over the years. Because I'm, getting older, I need to really relook at why I'm exercising and building that motivation in. I also used to do a lot more aggressive exercise. I mean, I could go to the gym and, had time and to work out when I was much younger. But then, kids come along, job, there's a lot of barriers that stand in the way of us doing like these aggressive workouts. And sometimes we have in our mind that, we need to do something big. And if we're not doing it that way, that particular way that, we're told in the textbooks or on the, the exercise classes and DVDs, that we're not able to really give benefit to our bodies. So, it's part of that is just rethinking some of this. And then I also want to talk about starting versus continuing. Sometimes starting is the hardest part. It's hard to find what we want to do and when we want to do it, how we want to do it. But I would also argue, I think I talk to so many people, oftentimes it's not more than the starting, it's the continuing. We can start, it's the new year, it's a birthday, it's some other kind of event that we decide then, hey, I'm really going to start this now. I'm going to set this goal, I'm going to do this. And we might do it for, a week or 2 weeks, a month, and then it kind of, wanes off and it falls off. So, that's again, part of this perspective of this little talk I want to give is how can we, work to really focus this in a little bit better on what we need. So what I would propose is a key that we need to really determine why we want to exercise and then what we want to achieve. And then we tailor our exercise routine or whatever we're doing around this. And probably most importantly is choosing something that works for you and that you enjoy. That's so critical. Sometimes as far as exercise go, we tend to think of gym or we tend to think of running. We tend to think of these big things. I'm like, I can't do that. I hate to run. So I'm never going to be a runner. I will tell you over the years, I've tried it a few times because I'm going to do this. And I do it for a few weeks and it falls off. It's just not me. So finding something that I enjoy that gives me that meets my objective for exercise, that is really, really critical. And there's all different ways to accomplish that. So I wanted to take a second and just look at why do we exercise? And we could all probably list about 5 or 10 reasons off the top of our heads of why we should exercise. And the question really, I want to make it a little bit more personal for each of us is why do you want to exercise or why do you feel like you need to exercise? What is your specific reason for this? That's going to be really key to try to, figure that out and then build your program or build what your routine or whatever you want to do around that. Very, very important. As I mentioned just a minute ago, when I was younger, a lot of the reason I wanted to exercise was because I wanted to stay looking good, or, get ready for, a beach at the summer or something. But I'm in my mid 50s now, and I have realized that I care about that. But what I care about more is my health. And so for me, I've realized what I need is I need good cardiac health. I've got some cardiac diagnoses for myself, and even histories within my family. I need to also work to build and maintain muscle mass. It's very important as we age. And then flexibility. These are my three big things that I know that for my health, I really need to build in. Well, when I have tried to tailor a program to kind of meet all of those things equally, I get a little overwhelmed, and then I feel like I can't do it. I try to build a program, and then I do it for a little while and I fall off, and then you kind of get into that cycle again, and that guilt cycle, and like can't do it, and then I don't want to start it again because I'm sure probably most of you can relate to that. If it's not regarding exercise, it's other things we do. So what I decided, I needed to really figure out what is my top reason for exercise. And at this point in my life, I've decided it really is about cardiac health. More than anything, I need to keep my heart strong. And that means I need to do things that are going to elevate my heart rate and get that out there. And I need to do it consistently enough, a few times, 3 times or so during the week, in order to meet that minimum threshold of benefit. So it kind of helps to focus in on that. Maybe keep your goals or your focus smaller. And then as you can build in some routine and it feels like it's more working for you, then add more. It's not saying you can't add other things to it. But again, I'm a big fan of keeping things simple so that we set ourselves up for success. So in order to do that, I wanted to talk through some of the common reasons of why we might exercise, and maybe what type of exercise that you would consider to do that for. So the first one I have here is weight control. And in order to, obviously that involves burning calories. In order to burn calories, we have to get our heart rates up. So it's really important you do some kind of cardio, something that, aggressive walking or biking, or even just exercising where you are getting that heart rate elevated. To add to that, what is helpful is also using some resistance with that. So that's kind of a general idea with weight control, what you want to do. We'll talk a little bit more about this. This is a little overview here. So with building muscle mass, again, as we age, this is really important. There are 2 different types of building we do with this. One is toning versus building mass. Most of us on this call are probably more wanting to, if we want to take care of our muscle mass, we probably want to more tone than actually bulk up like bodybuilding. So for tone, what you really want to do is you want to do what we call low load and high repetitions. So you might want to do, you need to have, some weights, so it might be like a 1 pound, 2 pound, not very high weight load, but you want to do a lot of repetitions. That's going to really tone up your muscles and add endurance to them. So you might do, if you're doing like, arm exercises, overhead lifts, you might take a 1 or 2 pound weight, and maybe what you'll do is 15 reps, take a break, and then do 15 more reps. And you can keep adding to the number of repetitions that you're doing for the particular exercise. If you are trying to bulk up, what you want to do is you want to do a high load and low repetitions. So there are all kind of formulas around that, which I won't get into now, but you're going to use a very high weight load based on some of these formulas, and maybe do like 5 reps. So it'll be a very different approach. With cardiovascular, cardiopulmonary, with that, obviously what you want to do with that is your aerobic type exercises. You want to do things that are going to get your heart rate up there. The ideal is 30 minutes 3 times a week to get that minimum threshold benefit for your cardiovascular system. And that's really important. We need to keep the blood moving through our bodies in order to, decrease the plaque buildup, in order to keep our hearts pumping and keep them strong. So it is very important that that is a part of our programs as we age. Increasing flexibility, we all know what that's about. You start to feel stiff, and it's harder to get moving in the mornings and things like that. Flexibility is really one of the pillars of our physical health. The more we can keep our muscles and our joints stretched and limber, we are less prone to injury. We're less prone to arthritis and those little aches and pains and things like that. So stretching, just general stretching type exercises are great. Yoga is amazing for this. Pilates is great for this. Mental health is another reason we exercise. And this helps in so many different ways with mental health. It can help elevate our mood. If you're struggling with some depression, hey, this last year has been tough. One of the best things to do is to start to work through some exercise program for this. Our energy level, as we exercise, we actually can increase our metabolism, which increases our energy level. Stress management, we all know as we exercise, it helps to reduce that stress level that we have, helps us to actually manage stressors better. Exercise also increases our mental focus and a mental acuity. It's one of the things they talk about with like Alzheimer's prevention is a good cardio program where you're really, you're exercising, you got that blood circulating, you're oxygenating the brain. Those things are really very important. A few more reasons of why we exercise. Balance and core stability. Again, it becomes more important as we age to really work with balance and core stability. We know that naturally our muscle mass starts to decrease actually around age 40. So in our 40s already, our bodies, our muscles are not developing, and they're not holding that mass as they did when we were younger. So it's important that we keep that up, because then that if we lose that that muscle mass, it affects our core, which is our midsection, which kind of gives us that stability. That impacts our balance. It's a much easier to keep your balance and keep your stability than it is to have to regain it. So then also to prevent and manage disease. When we exercise, regardless of what type of exercise, although cardio is always good for this, stroke, high blood pressure, cancers, etc., can be prevented and managed better. Better sleep. If you want to sleep better, exercise a little bit during the day, burn off some of those, burn off some calories, make your body tired, make your body ready for that sleep. And lastly, although some of you may laugh when I say this, for the fun of it, when we move our bodies, especially if it's something we enjoy, it can be fun and it really can make us feel great. So the next thing I wanted to share this little image with you here. It says, I do weights for muscle health, I do cardio for heart health, and chocolate for mental health. So again, there's all different ways that we can keep ourselves fit. And I do agree, chocolate is a really good thing. So I wanted to as the clock is moving and I'm trying to watch this, I wanted to address the types of exercise that fit me best, fit you best. So what I wanted to do is talk through some general types of exercise. Maybe some of these you wouldn't have really considered for yourself because maybe you haven't had exposure to it. So this is really going to be a very quick survey, but I wanted to highlight a few things that I believe can be helpful. Yoga is something that a lot of people might like shy away from because it seems at times it can seem very intense. But some of the venues that I'll talk about in a minute offer some yoga stretches and yoga approaches that can be done very easily by anyone in your own home. And I actually have incorporated yoga into my fitness probably about 15 years ago. And I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference in the way you carry your bodies, the decrease in the stiffness or the aches and pains. It really makes a very big difference. I don't do it multiple times a week. I usually try to get in some yoga maybe once or twice a week, but I have some key stretches that I do probably on a daily basis that have come from some of what I've gleaned from yoga. Pilates, it's similar to yoga, but a little different. It's a method of exercise that incorporates these controlled movements. It emphasizes alignment, breathing, flexibility, and building your core. Strength training and toning. There's 3 parts to this. I talked a little bit at that a minute ago. It's increasing muscle tone, increasing muscle mass or that bulk. The third part that I didn't mention earlier was about bone health and through weight bearing. So strength training is actually a really great way to build your bone health. And that is a really impact as we age, again, especially women postmenopausal. We know that we can become osteoporotic and the bones get a little weaker. But bones actually are strengthened when they have when you have weight bearing on them, when you're using weight, like either weight bearing from your body or you're using weights. So this is a really great thing to incorporate as you are as you're aging, really at any point in time. It's really great to keep that bone health. I wanted to mention interval training because this has been a trending form of exercise over the last several years. And a lot of you probably heard about HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training. There's also basic interval training or repetition training. This really is where there's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different types of exercises that you would do for a certain number of repetitions, and then you repeat that whole cycle. So the HIIT part of it, the high intensity, usually those are really aggressive types of exercises. You might be your burpees, your mountain climbers, things like that you'll do those for maybe 5 repetitions, or maybe you'll do it for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you'll go through those series of exercises, and then you'll repeat that whole cycle. So it's a pretty intense workout, but you can do 20 minutes of a HIIT, 25 minutes of a HIIT exercise program, burn off a lot of calories and get a lot of exercise in. I would say for most of us, especially if you're getting started, that's not the where to start. But I actually do an interval training as a part of my exercise program. I have several exercises that have become like kind of a core to my program. And I might do them for like 20 repetitions each, and then repeat that cycle maybe 3 or 4 times. Because that way you can kind of get a better holistic body approach. So that's another trend that you'll see that's out there. And the next slide, aerobic exercise. We all know about this. There's dancing, swimming, biking, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of different things. I mean, Zumba classes used to be really big. Hiking is another great form of exercise. If there are a lot of great parks in in New Jersey, and you can get out to do some of this hiking, and it can really get your heart rate up. It's also engaging, it's fun. Sometimes it doesn't feel like exercise because you're doing it just because you want to enjoy it, but it really is a great form of exercise. I wanted to highlight taking a brisk walk. Some of you may have Fitbits and Apple Watches and things like that that can monitor your fitness. And if you have ever worn that when you were, say, riding a bike or doing another kind of exercise, and also when you may be taking a brisk walk for 20 minutes, you would, if you looked at your Fitbit or your Apple Watch, you would find that you probably are burning off as many or more calories taking a brisk walk as you are riding a bike. And actually, I found in most cases when I'm riding my bike, I'm burning off a lot fewer calories. When you're taking a nice brisk walk, something that's going to get your heart rate elevated, your body is engaged that whole entire time. So walking cannot be underplayed at all. It is a great form of exercise. And if that becomes your cardio workout, just make sure you're kind of walking at a nice clip that's comfortable to you, but that gets your heart rate up. You also might want to include some stretching with that, maybe either that day or another day, and maybe just basic exercises that you would add to that. And that could give you a nice, well-rounded program. Sports and sporting activities, obviously, those are other forms of exercise. All right, so moving right along, I wanted to address some of the venues for exercise. Gyms is the first venue I think most people think about. Oh, I'm going to go to the gym. Gyms can be great. And for some people, they work out really, really well. I will tell you, for me, I've had many, many, many gym memberships over the years. I think probably most of them, I didn't even continue going through the first 6 months. For me, gyms just never seemed to fit into my lifestyle. It was very hard for me to find the time to get to the gym. I loved it when I was there. It was more about just the time involved, et cetera, et cetera. So if some of you may be like me, some of you that may be your ticket, and that's great. Also with the pandemic going on, it can be very challenging. But again, some of these gyms are offering online classes as well, which is great. I will say over the last year, many people that I've talked to, including myself, have moved to some of the phone and computer apps. If you have a smart TV, these can also be put on your TV, so you can do them in your living room. I am a huge fan of these apps. Most of these apps are free. They have a free version, excuse me, but they can be upgraded if you want to add more exercises to it, or if you want to increase the difficulties, things like that. One of the ones that I do is 8Fit, and it can be purchased in your app stores. But and you can do it on the computer, on your phone. But what's really nice about many of these, including, as I listed here, Apple, if you have Apple products, they have that, the fitness app on there, your Fitbit. OpenFit is another app. These have like little exercise classes per se that you can join into whenever you want to. And they range anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes up to 30 minutes. They range from beginners all the way up through advanced, if you really want to give it a good workout. They also have all different kinds of exercises. They might just have regular stretching. They might have upper body. They might have cardio. They have boxing. They have all different kinds of things. And so what I have found over the last year is I've actually gotten to explore other types of exercises, even bar classes, like the ballerinas with the bar. Those are great fitness classes. I never would have thought of doing that. But I saw that, I thought, let me try it. And I really like some of it. So I think the value to some of these apps is that you can go in and you can kind of, bounce around to different things and find something you like, and honestly never get bored. And you can do it if you've got 10 minutes, you can do it for 10 minutes. If you got more time, you can do it for more. The key is getting your body moving. So also another venue is parks. There are a lot of parks out there, as I mentioned before, with the hiking, but even in some of the county parks, they have like a lot of nice walking trails. A lot of them have like your fitness stations that can be, really fun and engaging. And I put here, be creative. There are a lot of ways that you can exercise. The key truly is finding something that works for you and something that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, and if it doesn't become somewhat fun and engaging for you, it's something that's not going to last. So it's very important that you seek something out like that. And I know that may sound very common sense-ish, which it is, but I think sometimes we make these things more difficult. I will speak for myself. I have always made it a little more difficult than I should have. And as I've gotten, a little smarter over the years, the last 10 years or so, I feel like I've kind of gotten into a good place where I can feel good that I'm taking care of my body without guilt. So I wanted to the next part. Let me check my time. I wanted to talk briefly about some of the barriers to exercise. Because I think it's important. Again, I'm assuming that some of the people in this audience may have had my same issue with the on and off. And it's important, if we want to set anything up for success, to figure out what it is that makes us to push that off button. So one of these is the first one I put here, which was a big one for me, was we start too big, too intense, too much time commitment. It's like we bite off more than we can chew. We think, I'm going to really do it this time. I'm going to go all in. But it just seems to fall apart. So one of the things I suggest is start with just one reason or one purpose for exercise. Like I mentioned earlier, like I pulled things back when my life was getting a little crazy and I needed to exercise, but I had too much going on. I needed to focus in on cardio. So that is what I did. And that's why I would suggest start with one reason, like go think back to what it is that you really want to accomplish. What is it in your health or otherwise that you want? And then focus in on that. Build your program around that type of exercise. Find something fun with that you can do. Again, I suggest starting like something with, 3 times a week. If you can only do 15 minutes a day to make it work for you, then start there. You got to build some success in. And once you do that, then you can add to it if that works for you. The next one is not enough time. Okay, that's common for all of us. I mean, who has like lots and lots of time on your hands? Probably very few of us. So what I would suggest to people, because this is what I had to do for myself, is really monitor your schedule for a week. Almost do like a little time study for yourself. And as you're going through the week, try to find, identify at least maybe 3 times that you can squeeze in something. And it might even be like I put things here, like, maybe just squeeze in a walk. If you need to get up a little earlier, do that. If you're in your house and you couldn't fit something in, climb the stairs, walk a little bit more, drive less. Another key that might be is exercise while you watch TV. That's a great thing. If you have a few things that that you don't have to be watching a DVD or someone instructing you, do it while you're watching TV. It's great because then your mind's engaged and you're working your body. The next one is lack of motivation. This is a big one. We might be initially motivated, like I'm going to do this because I need to, but and then quickly it wanes. I would suggest a strategy to set specific goals. Keep it simple, start small, build in that success, as I mentioned, and then increase it. I put a note in here to keep in mind that if you haven't done a lot of exercise and you're really wanting to build this into your life, you're really looking at a lifestyle change. And that's what I would suggest. The best way to good health with this is to really build it in as part of your lifestyle. We all know that habits take generally 6 weeks to hardwire. So it's important that we are patient with ourselves. We try to keep things, that are attainable and that we can actually achieve that. Be kind to ourselves. Do not be overly critical. No guilt. I say no guilt because guilt is counterproductive. We all know if we don't succeed at something, and then we beat ourselves up from it, we're going to less likely to start it again. And then it doesn't get us anywhere. So I say put that guilt somewhere else, but not here. The next one is we forget to do it. And that's easy to do. Life gets busy at times. So I say build in a reminder. Once you kind of have that in, you kind of know what you want to do and when you want to do it, build it into your phone, in your calendar. Do something so it becomes a routine. You don't really need to think about it. It pops up. I will tell you, one of the things that I do is I started a little while ago is this plank challenge. It's a 30-day plank challenge to do 5-minute plank by the end of 30 days. Talk about tough. That's challenging. So what I've done though is I build in my calendar at 9 o'clock every night. So that's what I do at 9 o'clock every night. So tonight at 9 o'clock, it will ding and I'll be on the floor doing plank. So it's good to do those things because otherwise I would totally forget. Exercise is boring. And you know what? At times I can understand if you're thinking of exercise for exercise purpose, it can be boring. That's why it's really important. Your strategy should be to choose activities that you enjoy. If you like variety, then build variety into that routine. Join forces with friends. I didn't mention in the slide earlier, one of the concepts I'm trying to pitch with people is right now with Zoom and the screen sharing we have, you can set up a little group with some friends, family, share a screen, do an exercise class together. Those things can be very, very motivational. The last slide for the barriers, and there are more barriers, but these are the ones I wanted to highlight. I'm afraid I'll hurt myself. And that can be a real barrier for some people because you may say, I've got these issues. I've got a bad knee, I've got this and whatever, and I don't really want to create any harm, so I'm not really sure what to do, so then we don't do anything. What I would suggest is anything you do, take it slow, take it nice and easy, and then build it up. That will build your confidence in your ability to exercise and not injure your body. If you are real concerned about something, then seek out a professional, a physical therapist or exercise trainer, somebody who can kind of help guide you. The last point I wanted to make here with the barriers is, again, it's a very common one for any kind of lifestyle change we're trying to build in. We've tried it and we failed too much. And so you just, don't want to try again because you keep failing. It makes us feel bad. I would propose and suggest just don't give up. Determine what your barriers are, what they've been, and then work on some strategies to overcome them. Build in that little bit of success. One of the pillars that I've had in my life is strive for progress, not perfection. It's really important that we that perfect idea of exercising and what we want to look like and what we want to have. Sometimes we got to let go of that and say, okay, I can't go for perfection, but if I can do better now than what I did 6 months ago in this area, then I am doing better. And that's a really, really good thing. So I would say again, the ultimate purpose for exercise is to get your body moving more now than you did before. So keep that in mind. I mean, it's great to have those more aggressive goals. I mean, I have some aggressive goals for myself, but sometimes when, life gets a little crazy, I need to be a little bit more kind to myself, back off of that and say, it's okay for this time period. And then, to back off a little bit, but then when I can, start it up again. I used to get really frustrated with myself when I would have those times, and I've gotten a lot better with that. And again, I feel my mental health is better, my physical health is better by having a different approach. I just wanted to mention that discouragement again, which I've talked about several times. I've been a physical therapist for 32 years, and I've worked with a lot of people over that time. And discouragement, it's with any kind of goal, any kind of lifestyle, but with exercise in particular, I've seen a lot of discouragement when people can't stick with it. So I will always say, don't let this, if you stop again, start again, do not let it discourage you. Just plan to start again. That's as easy as that. Just plan to start again. The main goal is keeping your body moving, as I mentioned. If you miss a day or you don't have time, just try something little into it. If you're at your house, like, oh man, I didn't get this in today. Walk or run up and down your stairs at home. I've done that. I'm like, oh man, I didn't get something in. So what I'll do is I'll run up and down my stairs 5 times. I'll jog around, even sometimes inside my house. If I've been running, late on doing something. And, I say again, whatever gets you moving. And the last thing, worth repeating again, be gentle and kind to yourself. Remember, progress, not perfection. Time check here. Oh, I'm running late. So I did want to mention real briefly though, about SMART goals, because I think this is critical for success in anything we do in life, is to develop something a little bit more concrete to hold us. What are we actually trying to accomplish? So the SMART goals, if you haven't seen this before, it's a great slide. Specific. The first part is specific. What outcome are you looking for? If it's I want to develop consistent exercise, great. Whatever it is, be specific about it. Say I want to exercise 2 times a week. Well, then build that into your goal. Measurable. How will you know when it's reached? Well, you build in that frequency, 2 times a week, 1 time a week, 3 times a week, whatever it is. I love this one. Is it attainable? On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel that you'll do it? Very important to look at that, because again, when I said I was going to do my intense cardio workout like an hour 3 times a week, and I was going to do my hour-long yoga 2 times a week, I'm like, that's a great idea, but that ain't happening. So I had to really pull back from that, thinking I might do that for a couple of weeks, but I'm not going to sustain it. So I had to change that. Relevant, the next part. How meaningful is this goal to you on a scale of 1 to 10? If you, that's why it's really important to go back to what is my reason for exercise? What's that purpose for exercising? What do I want to accomplish? When you can really fine tune that a little bit more, it will make your exercise program a little more relevant. The last part is timed. When do you intend to reach this chosen endpoint? So what I did is a couple of brief goals here. One really, really basic goal. Take a brisk walk for 15 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 o'clock. Just a random goal. But you can see when I'm looking at this, it has all of those elements in it that I just discussed. The second goal is a little bit more involved, which actually tends to be one of my goals right now, which is I'll complete an 8-fit cardio interval workout 3 times or 30 minutes 3 times a week, and my yoga for 20 minutes 2 times a week. In this particular one, I don't want to assign a day because my days are varied and changes, but my goal is to get these built in, and that is something I can do. It's attainable, it's relevant to me. It's actually, these are both parts of exercise that I'm really enjoying right now, so it works. Anyway, it just, the whole idea though is to give some thought into it. If it's something that's important enough for you, it's really important. It should be important enough to really put some meat on the skeleton and make a goal with it. The last thing I wanted to share with you is anytime we create a plan, I love this cartoon, you all maybe have seen it before, but every time we create a plan, that top image is what we often think of it. We think, oh, this is the plan. Okay, I'm going to do this and it's going to work like clockwork and that's going to be there and I'm going to reach it and it's going to be smooth sailing. But in reality, if we look back at things, it's really more of the second image. I mean, we falter and we have this, or we've got this barrier, or the kids are doing this, or whatever it is. And it just tends to look more like that up and down, up and down. But as with anything that's worth doing, sticking with it and being persevering with it, you can do it. You really can reach those goals. And again, it's all about making, better health, better life for you. It's all, for me, it always comes down to quality of life. And exercising for sure can definitely add a lot of quality to your life. So I see with the clock, it looks like we have about 15 more minutes. I don't know if there's any questions. I'll go back to the queue and see.
Right. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. And as a reminder, Dr. Saunders can't give personal medical advice. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have one question. When is the best time to have meals in relation to exercise?
That's actually a really good question, because whenever you eat, it usually takes about 30 minutes or so for that digestive process to kind of get started. So really, we would, generally speaking, I wouldn't start exercising anytime before maybe an hour after you eat. You can do it probably 30 minutes safely, but you definitely want to allow, your blood flow to go to your digestive tract, and to avoid cramping and other things like that. So very good question. I will throw in, as far as exercising, time of day. Look, get it in anytime you can get it in. Number one, just get it in, okay? But if you've got some flexibility and you're really looking for the best time, morning times really are a great time to exercise, because what exercising in the morning does, it actually establishes your metabolism for the day. And if any of us got up every morning and we, put in 15, 20 minutes worth or so of exercise, you would start to see a difference in your metabolism, your energy level for the day. It really does help set that for the day.
Okay. And then we have a new question. How do you get back into exercising after taking a break, either due to medical conditions or injuries?
I mean, that's a good question. And I hope that some of the things that I talked about here can help you. I really would suggest taking a look at, again, some of the key things I talked about here is, what's the reason you want to exercise? Do you want to do cardio? Do you want to do some other kinds of things? Try to find something you want to do. And then you have to find the right venue for that. Is it something you're going to tap into with friends? Is it going to be a gym or whatever? Try to find something that you think you're going to find that you will enjoy. I always suggest starting simple. I think when we bite off too much, we can't do it. So maybe what you do is just say, hey, look, I'm going to start with 1 day a week. I'm going to find this one activity. Maybe it's, taking a brisk walk with a friend find someone and then build that in. Accountability is always great, especially when we're trying to start a new habit. So, I mean, those are a couple of brief suggestions.
Okay. And then I think this is a follow-up to that question. If you have knee or shoulder issues, how do you know which exercises are safe to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's, again, it's hard for me to talk about a lot of that, in this forum. I would suggest, if you maybe you talk to your doctor about that, they can direct you to that. Maybe they would send you to a physical therapist for like a one session visit where they could evaluate you and then say, okay, do these kinds of exercises. Anytime you're dealing with injuries or joints that aren't working well, you definitely want to seek out some professional advice so that you don't injure anything. Because sometimes we actually can do more than we think we could do, but we hold off on it because we don't want to injure. And then we're really not getting the benefit from it. So I really would suggest seeking some professional help with that.
Okay. And then another question, would you exercise before or after eating breakfast?
You know what? I think exercising before breakfast is great, but definitely hydrate yourself. I mean, especially in the morning if you're going to exercise, because when we've gone through this fasting overnight when we're sleeping, we also have not hydrated overnight. And then if you exercise, you don't want to further dehydrate yourself. So what you might want to do is maybe get up in the morning, maybe chug 4 to 6, 8 ounces of water, and then exercise and then eat. You could do it the other way around, but I think for optimal, to optimize everything, that's probably the better approach, because then you also don't have to wait after you eat.
Okay. And then how do you feel about the College of Sports Medicine's 7-minute workout?
I think it's great. They have a lot of great resources through there. And I think, anything from that organization is very good. There's also a lot of other exercise organizations that are out there, and even things like, the American Heart Association. In my, I didn't even scroll to that page. The resources for the presentation here, the National Institute on Aging, the NIH, the CDC, these are some great sources. If you just got onto those sites and looked up exercises, exercise programs, exercise routines, they provide a lot of very basic things that can be done that are very general in nature. And I support a lot of that.
Okay. There's a question/comment. My friend does PT and there was an app they were sent to. Is this free or only open to physical therapists?
Oh, okay. So probably what they were doing, a lot of times when we give home exercise programs to our patients, a lot of clinics, we have like home exercise programs that are on computer programs and whatnot that are apps that we can have our patients do. Typically, that is very patient based. But I will tell you some of the apps, like the 8Fit that I mentioned here, the OpenFit apps that you can get in your app store. There are very, very similar ones. What's a little different about the apps that I mentioned in this forum is that they actually have several series of exercises, which is great, like, or even classes that you can attend. Oftentimes what we give our patients are maybe very, very exercises that are very much geared toward their issue that they're working on. So they tend to be a little bit different.
Okay, so we'll do one last call for questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Saunders, and for taking all this time to present on this topic, answering all our questions. And I also want to thank everyone who joined us for joining us for today's talk, and take care and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Encore presentation. To join us for live programs or to learn more about the East Brunswick Public Library, visit our website at ebpl.org.